You're listening to Gifted with Sheila White, a podcast that will inspire you. Its purpose is to uplift and entertain creatives to pursue their passions through their gifts. Sheila White is a film and television producer, author, and entrepreneur. And in each episode, Sheila talks with gifted individuals about their journey and the lessons they've learned. It will also inspire you to make an impact, living your best purpose-driven life with clarity. And now, here's your host, Sheila White.
Welcome to another episode of Gifted with Sheila White. Welcome to those of you who are new and those of you that are returning. You are in for a treat today. Have you ever wondered who your real dad or your real mom is if you don't know who your biological parents are? Well, today we have someone in studio with us that is going to open up that nugget and help us to understand the stories behind it, the journey, and helping you to get those answers to some sought out answers of who is my mom? Who is my dad? Who is my family? Why do I have these genetic traits that somebody else doesn't have in my family? Well, we're going to get down, deep sea diving today to get some of those answers for you. I want you to call a friend and let them know that Gifted with Sheila White is on the air. You know, on this show, we talk to individuals that are in health, wealth, education, spirituality, and business and arts. So buckle up your seatbelts, get ready for some juicy conversation because we are going to bring it today. My special guest is Talona Davis, and she is a DNA expert. I want you to be able to hear her story, her journey. Welcome to Gifted with Sheila White.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You know, this is going to be a powerhouse conversation because first of all, I want to hear a little bit of your story of why you decided to just kind of get into this conversation and want to dig a little deep. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Sure. So I would call myself a DNA surprise experience expert. Just because I found out at the age of 40 that my assumed father was not my father.
Now you said age 40.
Age 40. Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit, dial that back, because as you were growing up, what was it like? Was there any indication? You know, I was talking about traits, you know, like somebody's got a sharp chin or, you know, wider eyes or something like that.
Right.
So did you have any indication growing up?
So there were some things that was a little different from, you know, my family that I grew up with, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm hairy. So I have hairy arms and, you know, a little bit of hair going down, fine hair going down my back.
Yeah.
And no one in my family had that trait. I'm trying to think of what else. That was the most
distinct thing.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay.
So there was always questions like, why am I so hairy?
Okay.
And no one else is. My mom wasn't, you know. So there was different things like that. I have freckles on my nose. You can't really see them now because I have makeup on.
Yeah.
But I have freckles on my nose. No one really has freckles, you know, in my family.
Okay.
So just small traits like that. That was kind of, I didn't think nothing of it as a child.
Okay.
But it's just something you notice growing up.
Now, let me ask you a question, because as a child, you're just blended in with everybody. How many were in the family?
So my mom had 3. So
Okay.
she had my sister when I was like 12, 13. So for a long time, it was just me and my brother.
Okay, then the baby comes along.
Then the baby
and it's like
comes
no
along.
big deal because it's just a baby. You know, it's like you don't think this is not the mother, the father or anything. It's just it's another baby in the family.
I was raised, actually, my mom was a single mom from the time I was pretty much born into she got married when I was like 11, 12. And that's when she had my baby sister. Yeah.
So there's 3 in the family.
Yes. Three children that she had.
3 children and everybody's just playing together, getting along, not too much going on other than those traits. It's just, you just raised just like siblings.
Well, my father actually lived in Chicago, which is where my mother was born and raised. And when she, before she had me, she moved to be with her sisters in Kansas City. And so that's where I was born and raised. So my father, although I wasn't raised in a home, he was a part of my life. And I would visit often back and forth between Chicago and Kansas City. And so
you knew your dad.
I knew him.
Okay, you knew him.
I knew.
But he just wasn't living with you at the time. Okay.
Correct. All my life, I never had him, living with me. So
now, was that all the siblings as well? They all had the same?
So my oldest brother did, yes.
Okay.
Had the same father.
Okay.
And so, so we just grew up like a
normal family.
Yeah.
No indication.
There would be some things like, I always question now my dad was married, so I wasn't treated badly, but I know I could tell a difference with how I was treated versus how my brother was. So like my brother, there was more like a closeness with him that I felt a little bit of a difference with whenever I would come visit.
Wow.
I didn't understand it at the time. I think once I started getting older, I would question it and it would kind of get brushed off a bit. Kind of like, don't worry about that. People can just be people.
And that's the key, because a lot of times those indications, I feel a little different. I'm not seem to be loved as much as this brother or this sister. So you have these small inklings that something is different, but you don't really know because you're all in the same house and life goes on. And there's a saying, what goes on in the house in African American culture stays in the house. So it's like you talk about it a little bit, but you don't really bring it out much. And so those little small indications, you just kind of said, okay, it's just brush it off, because he loved you, you love him, we love each other, we're a family, and you just kind of continue on through those years. Were there any other indications as a child? Because this is so important for our audience to understand, because a lot of times we ignore those things and we're like, you know what? I often wondered why that I was treated this way, or why a certain person got more, or, there was just those differences and we just kind of brush them off. But then you go back
and you think
that was an indication. So were there some other things that you kind of thought, it's just different, a little different, besides the physical, like you said, little hairy on your arms or legs or something?
I don't think there were many other things other than certain circumstances where my mother might say a certain thing and I'd be like, but didn't think nothing of it then. It kind of raised the eyebrow. Okay, that's a little weird. But then, now looking back, I'm like, that's what that was, or, So just little things like that. But I really feel like people, I don't want to say protected me from the information, more so as that generation was just all about secrets.
Wow.
Like everything's under the rug. We don't put our dirt out there and, they protect one another.
Yeah. And that's so key to think about, because a lot of times there's shame. You don't want to open up one can of worms because it'll
spill over to
other things. And you're like, well, why this and why that? And you just don't want to go there. And a lot of times the parents, they're younger, things happen, and they're just trying to make it the best way they can. And a lot of times the genealogy, they weren't as open or as transparent because of, years and years of years of just brushing things over. Like I said, in the culture, what goes on in the home stays in the home. And the shame of letting people know in the church and letting other people know in the family and the neighbors and their friends. And so a lot of times we just have this culture of let's just not talk about it.
Yes.
And I think that let's not talk about it, it spills over to other areas because there's different type of abuse, mental abuse and physical abuse and verbal abuse, all of this going on because we just don't have a voice to talk about it. Correct. And so I think it's really important for people to understand, just you're in the same household, everybody's loving everybody, getting along, but you start understanding those differences, which is an indication, but we just let it go. And so we're not seeking it at that point.
And when you're young, you're not mature enough to even know what questions to ask, or
That's a good point.
You believe what's told to you because you want to believe it. Like, I never wanted to believe that my dad wasn't my dad.
Wow. Wow.
And so, there was a time where there was something that was said to me, and this person was drunk. And they actually said something that, and I'm saying it like that because even though I tell my story, I still want to respect the people that are part of my story. I don't want to cause the pain that was caused to me. So I still kind of protect, out of love, some people in my story. But this person was inebriated.
Yeah.
And they actually said something, and it made me call my dad and question him about it. So this is probably, I'm in my teens at this time.
Okay.
And he just went off. And he was like, that is not true. And you are my daughter. And that's that. You know? And when he said that's that, then that was that.
That was it. And that's a really important thing because a lot of times when it does open up, like you said, it brings on more things.
Yes.
And some of the signs of the anger that happens and the just brushing it off like, no, just forget about it. Those are other signs sometimes that people may recognize that are going through this type of story. And they're just like, okay, why did he get so upset? Why did mom get so upset? Or the mom may become emotional, very emotional. And you're wondering like, why is she acting like this way when I just asked a question? And the desire to just want to know. And in that case, someone that is, really intoxicated, a lot of times it comes out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If things will come out, the truth comes out. And so those are those situations where people are at a party or just at home or having a family function, and then things start to leak out. So there's a lot of reasons why I think that people don't want to tell the children because they maybe can't handle it, and then they're not ready to really break open that egg, crack that egg open and say, this is what happened. And so that's the reason why I want to go back into that, because the feelings that you had as a child, you were too young at one point, but then as you got older and you start trying to figure some things out, but then still kind of just lay it aside, let it sleep, let a sleeping dog lie, as they say. You don't want to know. And then when he says to you, your dad, you are my daughter, period. That's like a consolation to say, well, then I'm going to stop every thought that came into my mind.
It gave me a sense of comfort too, because when I heard what I heard, there was a lot of questions now going through my head, like, could that be true? Or what does that mean? Or, and so when he verified by saying, no, you're my daughter, and that's that, then it's like, okay, I no longer have to think about what I was thinking or have the questions in my mind. My dad said I'm his, and that's that. Right. And so I let it go.
Now let's talk about the siblings, because sometimes they may be an older sibling or a younger sibling might know the truth, or they might have heard something. And when there's other children in the family, there's a teasing that if they know, or they'll say, you're not my brother, you're my stepbrother, you're my
I didn't have any of
You didn't have any of that?
No.
Okay.
My brother, me and my brother have always had a pretty good relationship. And he says now that he had mentioned it to me, but I don't remember none of those conversations. I'm like, if you would have told me that, I'm sure I would have flipped out, but he says that he mentioned it. I'm not sure, like, I didn't ask questions as far as like, well, what was the details of this conversation that you remember? But it was a conversation that he says he felt like he had mentioned it to me at some point. But I don't recall that. I could have been too young to understand. I don't know, but I don't remember that conversation at all.
And it's just the guilt that is involved too, because people want to say, I was truthful, I'm honest, we're close, I would let you know. And I think that is one of the reasons why people say, well, yeah, we did have this conversation, but it's like in the back of their mind, they told you, but you might have forgot. And these are all dynamics that are happening every day, all day. And that's the reason why we're having this conversation. But as you got older and went through life, did you, when you finally got to the age and stage to say, I know you got married, when did you get married and have your own children? Because did you find out before or after marriage?
No, it was way after.
It was after.
Way after marriage, yeah. So I didn't have children. I've had all my children. I'm married for like, how many years? So like, we've been married almost 20 years now. So it was 2017 is when it came out that he was, not my father. So most of my marriage had passed,
And see, that's the thing. People go through life and you kind of have those doubts, and then you just go ahead. Like you said, you get married, you go to college, life just happens.
Yeah.
And then something triggers something. And you're like, well, this is my family. And, that's my dad, that's my mom. But then something happens along the line, because in some cases, some people don't know. They don't know. I have a relative, and it was in his 60s. And what happened in the service, like people go to the military and, they go over abroad and they stop and then, they have an affair and then they get back on the ship or get back on the boat or whatever it is.
And then here's this baby
right.
that comes
and
along,
so
right?
It's true story. And then, he's trying to figure out who is his parents and all this. He had these doubts in his mind, but he just let it go because his mom was like, well, this is your dad.
Yes.
I'm here. You have people in your life. You don't have to worry about your dad. And it just went through all this time, but it was just in the back of his mind. And he went and got his friend of his, gave him one of those test boxes. And so he was afraid. He just put it up in his closet. I'm not going to worry about it. Years went by. And then he's decided, I'm going to just take that thing out and just try to go get a test. Well, he went through, and we're going to get into this part, but he goes through the DNA testing and things and find out that his father is alive and is in another city. And it was a whole reunion of things because at this point, his dad's in his 80s, and things. And then he had to go back, you were in the service and all of this. And when you find out, it's just, it could be one way or another. Yeah. So now you're married, you have your children, and life is just happening. You get to the point where what triggers the incident that you just find out?
Okay. So my father suddenly passes away in 2017. Okay.
Now this is
my assumed dad.
Assumed dad.
The dad that I was raised with.
Okay.
So he ends up passing away. And
everything was still normal at that point. You're just thinking.
Yeah. I was grieving. Yeah. The passing of my dad. I was treated a little different at his funeral, which kind of raised eyebrows for me, or kind of like, wait a minute, what is this?
Wow.
I think that him being alive is what kept the secret going, because it was kind of like, I think people were kind of afraid to say anything.
It's a taboo, type of thing, yeah.
And I think that he kind of
didn't want to acknowledge.
He didn't want them to say anything, so I think it was kind of like a thing like where they respected him so much that they're just like, either respected or feared, one or the other, where everybody was kind of tight-lipped. And I think once he passed away, then it's like, okay, well, we can tell her the truth now, right? And so I received a call from who I thought was my sister, one of my dad's daughters. And she was just kind of matter-of-fact talking and made a comment. And I asked a question about something she had mentioned, and she says, "Oh, that's because you're not dad's biological daughter." That's how it was kind of brought to me in that way.
And he's passed, and then she just mentions that.
She just,
and all this time, she didn't give any indication.
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Nobody ever came to me and said he's not your father.
Yeah.
Like just point blank and clear like that. Nobody even ever hinted around. Even the siblings, my assumed siblings, they never said anything about it.
Wow.
To my remembrance.
Right.
And so for me, it was a shock. I literally went into like a shock mode. Like I couldn't speak. I just cried. Like I just sat on the phone and cried.
Yeah.
And she was saying things like, "Oh, you didn't know?
Oh my.
I thought you knew."
Oh my.
I did not know. And so that was the start of just this devastating, hard journey that I then had to face and try to navigate. And so I took a little while, and was trying to process it myself.
Yeah.
And was growing into like this deep depression.
Wow.
Because now it's shifting my relationship with my family. Now my primary family that's in my home, everybody's supportive, everything's okay.
So that's just your children, your husband. Did you tell them at that time? And what was their reaction? Because this is
my kids were a little young, so they didn't really understand fully, but we did sit down and have a conversation with them. My oldest, of course, he understood everything very clearly, and they were all very supportive. Between my husband, my kids, my best friend, and my baby sister, I had a pretty good support system as far as that goes. The thing is that also, although you may have some form of support, you still feel alone. Because they don't understand like what you're feeling. They don't understand the feelings of abandonment, the feelings of shame, really, that has been passed down to you, right? Yeah. Just the hurt, the isolation, and then people like the blame almost. Like, so now you want to search for your birth father. You had a daddy.
Yeah. That's important to bring up too, because now you find out that this is not your biological father. And now you want to start to search. Yeah. So help people to understand that passion to want to find that parent out there, because some people said, like you said, you have a dad that raised you and took care of you. Why would you want to go out and try to find, this happens with adopted, people that are adopted, why would you want to find your biological mother? We took care of you. We loved you. We supported you. Help our audience to understand that passion of, you just need to know.
Well, I feel that everybody deserves to know where they come from, right? And so I know we as African-American people who have been displaced.
Oh my. So,
just if you think about like, where do we come from? There's always this question
That's true.
in the back of your mind. Certain things come up in society and you're questioning, like, I wonder what my family would have been back there, or back then, or what life would have been like if I was connected with them, or where do I get these certain characteristics and traits from, right? For me, it was just, I always felt a little different, right? And so you always have that question, like, why am I a little different? Even personality-wise, right? You're a little different. I know I'm much softer than my mom was, for sure. And I just always questioned that. And so when the opportunity came, it's like, now there's this opportunity where I know something's different, something's going on. I'm going to find out where I come from, because I deserve to know. And I got some pushback. I did get pushbacks, more specifically from some of the elders, like in my family and in my life. And I grew angry.
That's a point. That's a point, because those feelings that you're having, this is common with a lot of people that are trying to find their biological parents. So you're depressed a little bit, you feel alone, the anger sets in. You have a support system, but still those feelings are there. And that's why I want people to feel they're not alone. And this is a cycle of what happens during this process. And what else was happening during this time?
So I felt alone. And I felt as though people were fighting more to keep the secret than they was fighting for me.
That is heavy.
Yes.
That's heavy.
Yes.
That's really heavy.
Yes. So they were fighting more to keep the secret than they was for me. And so that, I mean, when I tell you I was angry, like I was saying things to the elder in my family that I would never even think to say, because I respect them, you know. But in my anger, I didn't care. Anybody could get it. At that point. You know, and so it got to a point where my husband one day came to me and he says, I don't recognize my wife. And I was like, okay, babe, like I get it. I need to, he says, I think you need to start looking for some therapy, a therapist that can help you navigate like what you're feeling. And at this time I hadn't even confirmed yet that he was, just the thought of this being true was just frustrating. And then I started to remember some of the things that had happened in the past. And it's like, oh, that's why this happened.
Connecting
like
those dots.
Oh, that's why. And then you grow angry, you grow resentment. And you pretty much lose trust. So now I don't trust my family. Like, how could you guys keep this from me?
What other secrets are out there?
What other secrets are there? Was this true or a lie? And so you're really feeling like, who am I? And who are these people?
And even people that are going through adoption, that may be going through this, people that are going through the, you know, the biological, there's one parent that's biological, the other one is not. The parent is one feeling like, if they know, are they going to love me anymore? If they know the truth, all of these, you know, just evolution or just motions that are just happening with both sides. Everybody's involved in this, but the person that is searching, you know, I just want people to understand the depth of those feelings and those emotions and how it's a trauma. It's an actual trauma that you're going through in a turmoil through this time, you know, and you just, how long did you go through that before you really got to the bottom of it? So it was probably, I would say about 5 to 6 months into
me knowing that this was a possibility, right? And when my husband came and talked to me, I said, okay, I need to reach out for help. Yeah. So in the meantime, one of my aunts ended up sending me a link to this private Facebook group.
Wow.
And
there's always someone out there. Yeah. There's always somebody that will come to the rescue.
Yes. And so she sent me this link and I was like, let me see what this is. She was like, I think that this is something that would help you. I would encourage you to like look into this. And so I did. And it was a group and, you know, it was like a private group. So you had to answer all these questions in order to become a part. Yeah. And so I did. And for like a month, I would say I just kind of sat and kind of watched people, read their stories, see how they support one another. Wow. And it was a very good supportive group. Okay. And I happened to one day get bold and just tell my story. Okay.
And this is online.
This is online.
It's a support group.
So this is hard for me though, because I'm feeling very like vulnerable.
Yeah. You got to put your stuff out there.
Yeah, put your stuff out there. But what I got to lose? Wow. That's how I felt. Right. Like I done lost everything. That's how you feel.
That's how you feel.
Yeah. So what do I have to lose? So I put my story out there, and there's a lady that commented below my post, and she was asking the leader of the group, like, can I be her angel? And I was like, can she be my angel? Like, what does she mean? So he private messaged me and says, hey, you don't know this, but we have these secret angels in this group and they volunteer their time. And if they read your story and they see that you have enough information where they feel they can help you, then they kind of attach themselves to you. So would you mind talking to this lady? And I'm like, absolutely. Wow. Where is she? Like, you know. So we connected. From there, they had me do the ancestry.
That's it.
DNA.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. When I got my results back from that, I had matched very high. The highest match I had on there of CC's was with my aunt, who is my mom's sister. Okay. So then from there, they was able to split the DNA from maternal and paternal. So then I had this list of my paternal side, but I was matching like second, third cousins, you know. Most people don't have a picture on there. They use like a fake name. But there was one individual that had their picture and a name on there. Okay. So then we were just going through time. They was helping me build a family tree based off of what other people had on there, and found out that my surname was Johnson. So they found my great grandfather. Okay. Don't ask me how I Wow. But they found my great grandfather and his surname was Johnson. Okay. So then I know, okay, Johnson is my family name on one side of my family. I found out it was my grandmother's side of the family. But, so from there, we were just looking, you know, we was kind of like we had a stop sign because it was like, okay, well, this is all the information we have. Right. So they took my raw DNA data from Ancestry and uploaded to other databases. Okay. Yeah. And so 23andMe is where they found a match that was higher than my aunt. Higher than my aunt. And so they then looked at that and said, okay, this has to either be a brother or a first cousin. Okay. So I'm like, okay, we're getting closer. Yeah. And just let me mention, prior to all of this or during this time, I was asking my brother, who we share the same mom, would he be willing to do a DNA test with me to confirm that we're not 100% blood brother and sister. So we did do that. And we found out that we were half siblings. Wow. So then it was confirmed we don't share the same father. And we knew who his father was because he looked identical to my dad. So we knew, you know, for sure he was his dad. But then we found out we're half siblings. So that broke me even more because I'm like, now it's confirmed.
Yes.
So during this time, simultaneously, we're going through this, and they upload my DNA to 23andMe, get the higher connect there. And so in the meantime, I'm just like, okay, this could be a brother or sibling, but again, we're at a roadblock. Like we don't know where to go from there.
It's not so simple when you go through the process.
Not so simple. And mind you, this is like weeks and weeks of
time going by. And are you still in therapy at this point?
And I started therapy, right? Yeah. So now I'm starting to process a little better. Right? And I'm not getting as angry when I find information because now she's preparing me that what to expect. Right. The possibilities of what could happen. And what are we going to do when those things do happen? And how are we going to to process it and what are the tools we're going to use. So I was going through all that. So I was handling it a little better by this time.
Yeah.
And so remember the first on Ancestry, I told you that there was a lady on there, or I had a person on there that I matched with that was a second cousin, and she had her name in her photo. So I just said, let me try this name. It was a unique name, you know.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, let me try this name. Last name was Johnson. Okay. I'm like, let me put her name in Facebook and see what happens.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, I put the lady's name in, her photo and her name pops up. The same photo and name on Facebook. So I done found this lady, right?
Wow.
Then, to my surprise, she had commented on the Johnson family reunion page. Wow. So I found the whole family in one search on Facebook with the name that I found by doing Ancestry.
So now this is what's so important for people to understand, because it's a process. It's not a picnic. It's a process.
Oh.
When you go through the DNA testing and having people cooperate with you, like your half brother, it's a process, and you start finding out information. But it's important to get therapy or to get some help, and not try to just deal with it alone, because you're going through raw emotions that are coming out, and it's important to seek out help, to seek out counseling, because that's another thing. People think you're crazy, something's wrong with you in this culture sometimes, that you shouldn't go get help. You shouldn't seek help. But that's sometimes the savior in the situation of talking to someone, getting those emotions out, and being able to, it's a therapy in and of itself, but you have to find the right therapist.
Yes.
It's got to be a match there.
And that's a process too, because I went through multiple therapists before I found the one that I ended up with.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I think a lot of people just get frustrated and give up.
Yes.
But you can't give up on yourself.
Wow.
You have to fight for yourself.
Wow. Yeah. That's important.
You're your biggest advocate.
Yeah. So now you got the DNA testing. After all this, you find a match. You find out you're Johnson.
Lady, yes. So I find the family reunion page.
Yeah.
I go on, I look, and I'm kind of reading the comments, and I'm seeing like who the leader looks like. So people are asking questions. You have this one person that was answering all the questions. So I'm like, I'm gonna reach out to her.
Okay.
So I message her. A week go by, don't hear nothing back.
That happens. That's normal too.
You know, I'm creating these narratives in my head, like, okay, maybe they just don't want to.
That's another thing,
right?
And that's the thing, that the fear that you have. I wanted you to bring about that, because a lot of times you're afraid when you start finding some answers. Should I continue? Are they going to accept me? Are they going to reject me?
Yeah.
So, what was your feelings on those levels?
So that's a fear. That's a pretty common fear. That most people are NPEs. We call them NPEs.
Okay.
It stands for non-parental event.
Wow.
So that's what they call people like me. We're NPEs. Yeah. But as NPEs, those are some of the fears that come up. Like, will they accept me? Is my parent alive or dead?
Yeah.
The
siblings even.
How what is the family like? Yeah. You know,
do you want something from the family?
Do you want? Yes.
Yeah. You know, that's
a fear.
Thing.
You know, that's I think that's a valid fear. You know, like you never know, like who people are.
That's
so
true.
you kind of guard it with, you know, and protective of your family, and you know, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
So even with that, like, what type of people am I about to connect myself with? And
that's a good point.
You know, once I find them, what if I don't like them? Then I'm like, found you, but never mind.
Yeah.
You know,
exactly.
Just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, it's all those things go through your mind.
Yeah, yeah.
And then your family's dealing with it as well, and then your children are dealing with it. It's a family affair.
Yeah.
After you go through that process and continue it, could take months.
Yes.
It could take years, you know, because you're still searching and finding. And then when you do find them, we're at that point now where you found someone. So continue on from there.
So I didn't get the response. Okay. So then I started.
Which is typical sometimes. So they don't respond back right away.
And it was just a little message like, hey, my name is Talona. I'm in search for my family.
Okay.
Someone in your family matched with me on Ancestry, and I'm just in search for my father. That's kind of like how it went. Very quick and to the point, and you know, very kind and sweet though. And so never got a response. So then I go through and I look for another person that's answering questions in the group, and I found another lady.
Okay.
And so I ended up reaching out to her, and she responded within like 10 minutes. So I say, you know, I reached out to such and such, and they didn't respond. She says, she passed away a week ago.
Oh my.
So that was another cousin of mine that passed away from cancer a week prior. So I wasn't getting response because she was no longer there.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I said, like it broke my heart. But it also was a relief because it confirmed that they weren't avoiding me. That there was a valid reason as to why I wasn't getting a response. So, the lady who ends up being my second cousin, she's just asking questions. Okay, so what all information do you have? So I'm telling her about all the information I have, and I'm like, the highest connect that I had on the DNA databases was this guy who's supposed to be like a first cousin or a brother, and she's like, I know him. That's my cousin. And I said, oh, really? And she says, absolutely. She says, and she had the whole family tree. Yeah. So we sat and went through the whole family tree, and I was filling in all the missing pieces on my tree, right? And so it all makes sense. And we narrowed down to this person that I connected with. And she says, well, I can tell you this. She says, he can't be your brother because this bloodline goes through his mother. So she says, if he's your first cousin, that means one of his uncles is more than likely your father. Wow. And I was like, oh my God.
It's getting closer now.
Yeah. And so then you start getting nervous, like, do I really want to do this?
That's a normal reaction too.
Yeah, sure.
You get so close to the goal and you're like, should I continue? That's a normal response for people that are going through that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so we do the family tree. She tells me that the line goes through his mom, so he has to be more of a first cousin.
Wow.
And then she says, I have good news and bad news. She says, one of his uncles is deceased, but one is alive.
Okay.
And she says, and I have the number to the one who's alive, his daughter. Would you like to speak to her?
Yeah. Wow.
And I said, yeah.
Because you're so close.
I'm so close.
Yeah.
I said, sure. Calls her. She calls her. Yeah. She calls me the very next morning. The sweetest. When I tell you sweetest. So helpful. Hey, we're going to figure this out. So she's like, hey, girl. I'm like,
oh, my goodness.
She's like, so we're going to figure this out. She says, you're either my cousin or my sister, but we're going to figure this out together. Wow. I said, okay. So I give her all the information I can regarding my mom, where she was born, where she was raised, what neighborhood, what schools did she go to, all of these things. Well, her nicknames were, because a lot of them went by nicknames back then. Yeah. And she says, and I'm going to take this information to my dad. And I will let you know what he says, right? Okay. She calls me probably like maybe an hour later. And she's like, I think you're my sister. And I said, why do you say that? Like, my heart just kind of skipped a beat, right? I was like, why do you say that? And she was like, I could not get your mom's name completely out of my mouth before my dad was like, yes, I used to date her.
Wow.
And I was like, what? She says, I think we're sisters. And so we were just like, she was excited because she's the only child.
Oh,
so she was excited. I was excited.
Yes, that's amazing. That's amazing.
And so she was the only child with her mom.
With her
mom's
mom.
Only child.
Yeah.
And so she says, she says, this is what I'm going to do. She says, this is what I'm going to do. So she started calling me sis then. Sis, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. She says, I'm going to upload my DNA to Ancestry. Or I'm going to get an Ancestry test. And she says, and we'll see if we match. So then those results come back. Now, mind you, y'all, this is like weeks.
Yeah, time goes by.
So time goes by. So this is like, we're waiting like 2 weeks and you're just like, oh, when are the results going to come in, you know?
Wow.
But during the meantime, we are like talking and getting to know each other. You know, tell me about your life. I'll tell you about mine.
Because you're in hope that this could be it.
Yes.
You know, that's that cycle. You're like, you're hoping. You get so close. You're like, this could be it.
Yes.
This could be the family.
Yes.
And I'm kind of liking this side of the family and they're accepting me. So this is another normal thing. So then you start
to say, well, I hope this is.
Yes. That's the whole thing. Yeah.
Because this would be great.
Yes.
Right. I'm a big sister, so I didn't have any big sisters. So for me, this would be like having a big sister now, you know?
Wow.
And so her test came back. And it showed that we matched higher than even the guy that I matched with. So it confirmed that more than likely we're siblings. Okay.
Goodness.
So we pretty much had accepted we're siblings at this point, right?
Okay. So because numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie.
So then the crazy thing is neither one of our parents remember being with one another during that time in their lives.
Wow. And that's another normal thing because you move on, life happens.
It's like
families,
50,
you get married.
60 years, like 50 years later, 40, 50 years later.
Right.
Like there are some things you forget.
And sometimes people have dementia as they get older in life. So you're not thinking that they're going to remember every single situation.
Or you might have been in party mode back then.
Right. You're promiscuous, you're in high school or college, whatever.
Right.
So these are a part of the normal situations that happen when people are going through these situations.
Right.
So it's not so cut dry. You have all of these scenarios, and so now you guys are high on the scale. The numbers are looking good. And then when do you meet your dad?
So my dad, what I found out is, and my sister was extremely protective of me during this process. And so my dad was an alcoholic. And so she would not let me meet him when he was intoxicated. Okay. So we would schedule dates, and then she would go get him, and he would be intoxicated. So then she would call and say, "Sis," and I already knew like there's a chance that this may not happen at this time or whatever, due to the fact that we knew what his struggles were. Wow. And so she was like, "Well, I don't want you to meet him like that. I don't want that to be your first experience." And so my first experience meeting him, I was literally sitting at my desk at home. I got a FaceTime call from her. And every time she would call, I get excited. Like, my sister, So I get on, I push FaceTime, and she's like, "Hey, sis, we're just talking like normal." And she scans the phone, and her husband's there. I'm like, "Hey, bro, And she says, "Well, I have a surprise for you." And I'm like, "What you got for me, girl?" Yeah. And she pans the phone, and it's him. And I just freeze. So I'm just sitting there like, and that tears just start streaming because I'm looking at him. He has the freckle nose like me. He had, it's just, I can see myself. You can see self,
yeah.
And he just says everything that you would want a daddy to say. So, "You're so beautiful. If I didn't know about you, had I known, you would have never been without me." He's just saying all these beautiful things, which made me cry even more, right? Yeah. And for a while, I feel like we sat there. It felt like eternity that we sat there and just stared at each other. Wow. And so I had an opportunity to meet him a few times, but then his health started to decline. So about a year and a half later, his health started to decline. And the beautiful thing about my sister is that the experience that I had with my bio dad was totally different than my assumed dad when it came to him becoming ill, and me not being able to be a part of it and feeling kind of shunned out, to she incorporated me in every detail.
Oh, wow.
And so he got sick. From there, I was able to help her choose like the hospitals and the hospice places. I was there every step of the way. I planned his memorial service.
Wow.
So when I tell you I had 100%, I mean, it was just, it was
story. It's like a storybook. It's like a movie.
Yes,
it's like a movie.
For sure. Yeah. And the crazy thing is I want to go back for a second. When I first met my sister, the cousin that I matched with and her, we met up for dinner. My husband, he actually took me there and sat in the parking lot for like 4 or 5 hours. Wow. Because I was so nervous and he didn't want me to be alone.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm in there, and as soon as we sit by each other, I put my arm down. And she put her arm down.
You can see the hair on the arm.
Identical. When I tell you identical. So it's small things like that where you see yourself and you're just like, this is where I come from. Like, this is like, and you start to feel more settled in who you are. Which I think is why it's so important as well. So you may come across some things that are not so great, right? Which we have it in all of our families. We have our own struggles, right?
Exactly.
And so, but when you connect, you get a part of, the good that come from,
the bad.
Yeah. But the hair that I always question.
You reckon there was an identity there.
There was identity, like just this affirming, just realness,
And the good thing about this is that story came out to be, it's a beautiful ending, but then some people don't have that beautiful ending.
They do not.
There's some people that have rejection. There's some people that families are not reaching back in a loving way to them. And so they have resentment. They have rebellion. Like, I don't want to know you. I'm my dad's only daughter, my dad's only son.
I see so many stories.
Both of these type of situations you have when you're in this situation, whether you're adopted or just trying to find the biological parent. But the search, as you said, must go on because you want to know. And it's like us coming here from another country, like from Africa or whatever. We want to know what part did we come from? And so that search is like, okay, I need to know. And that name, Johnson name, is just one of those names that there's so many Johnsons out there. Really, that lineage is just like, it goes on and on. And so in your story, it came out to the point where you were able to be there up to that end time to be able to find him. And so it's kind of like you had the closure and things. And let me just ask you this question now, post this now, all of this happened. What made you want to continue this journey to help people or to have this passion that you have about the DNA? Because I mean, you're like the DNA queen now, trying to help people, and you bring up those letters and you're like, hey, it just opened something up in you.
So one thing my husband said, I always call my husband the wisest man I know. Okay. So one thing that he said one day is he said, hurt, heal, help. You hurt, go through your healing. Yeah. And your story is not just for you. So you use your story and you help other people. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That stuck with me. Yeah. Yeah. But I always knew once I got on the other side of it that I would help other people navigate it. Okay. Because going through it myself, I understood that other people would never be able to understand. Yeah, you have to go through that. It's like any tragedy that anyone experiences. It's easiest to talk to people who have experienced the same thing because you know that they understand your level of pain, right? Okay. And so for me, what I was learning from hearing other people's stories is that, like you have some people that can't really afford therapy on a consistent basis. Yes, or couldn't afford to go through the process of getting the DNA and going through all of that. That's a financial situation as well. That's a financial situation, so that becomes a burden. Yeah. Also, they just don't know what avenues to take. They don't know where to search for resources. No support system, like you had a support system. Okay. So this whole thing with DNA surprise reveals and things like that, this is like a new thing. Yeah. Right? Yes, it was swept under the rug so much in the past. So now it's like a thing where we're starting to unravel and reveal all of these secrets in hopes that it'll make the generations to come better. Yes, right? Yes. And so for me, it's what I was finding is people couldn't afford the therapy and things like that. And then also, because they couldn't afford it, they were seeing a therapist like once every 2 months or once a month, which when you're in that's another expense if your insurance doesn't pick it up. So it's correct. And when they do, then you're limited to the resources that they offer, right? Okay. And then you may not connect. Yeah. Yeah. And so, which is extremely important as well. Wow. Right. Wow. And so, so understanding that, I said, okay, what's missing in between? So like if someone can't go to therapy but twice a month, okay, right? What's happening is the first of the month they're going, and then they have 29 days in between. Right. And all of the drama in their head and not knowing. And because you have family saying things, you got people trying to discourage you. And people are looking on Facebook trying to find things if they got a little piece of information. Then the fear builds up. You start creating these narratives in your head of what things are, what they're not. You just got this holographic grip on you. Oh my God. So that's what was happening to me is that I was going into this depression because I did not have the support that I needed. Yeah. And although it's feeling alone, just feeling alone. That nobody understands. And it's nice to have your family there. They give you hugs. They're sitting next to you and all that, but you need more. Yeah. You need to know how to process this stuff. Wow. You need to know what to do when you're feeling a certain kind of way. Wow. What do you do with those emotions? Yeah. You know, so if you're angry, do you carry on your job and your life and go to church? Correct. And God, what's happening? You're praying. Just help me, Lord, to get, all of this. And you feel happens. Like nobody wants to hear my sad story. Wow. Nobody's going to care. I can't go to work and tell my boss what's happening. He's going to, I can't expect him to have empathy for me. Wow. And so, so that's what we found, that there was this gap. And so then that's where I as now a peer mentor.
An advocate now.
An advocate.
You're the advocate now, yeah.
And so I created Life Beyond DNA.
Life Beyond DNA. Okay.
So Life Beyond DNA. And what we do is we couple peer mentors, so NPs who have been through the process.
Wow.
They become mentors.
Okay.
And we couple their services with now mental health professionals, so therapists. And we offer solutions and services that combine both mentorship and therapy.
Wow.
So in between your therapy sessions, you have someone you can talk to. You have someone you could bounce, maybe some of the tools you learn from your therapist, you don't quite know what they look like. How do I use these? Well, I can tell you how to use them because I've done it myself,
right.
And so that's where Life Beyond DNA was born.
Wow, that is amazing. Life Beyond DNA. And this is such a passion. And I love the fact that you just didn't say, happily ever after, I found my family and I've got the closure. I can just go on living. But you're taking this situation as a part of your journey, and you're helping other people to heal and to get, restoration from all of the stuff that they might have been going through. I think that's so important and so key. What would you like to say to a person that was in your situation, whether they're young or old? Because like I said, I had a relative who was in her 60s before they really got to the bottom of it. What would you say to a person out there that's going through the struggle, whether adopted or their biological member of their family they're trying to find? It could be a sibling, it could be a parent. What would you say to them to keep them encouraged and to keep them having hope?
So the first steps I would say is create your healing circle. You cannot do this alone. You could try, but you'll be better off with a healing circle and people that can help support you through your journey. The second thing I would say is to, once you have that healing circle, you have the help, use the tools to process what you're feeling. There's purpose in your pain. Okay. And once I know sometimes when you're in it, you don't feel that you feel like you're always going to feel that way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like you get stuck in it.
Yeah, you feel like you're always
like
going
you can't move. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And so, there's purpose in your pain. So fight for yourself. Be your biggest advocate, right? And to lean into the help. And I'm growing a blanket.
But no, it's so important. I think it's so important because people need to know what's the next steps, and they're afraid. They're alone. They feel isolated. They're like, should I give up? I want to have hope. Things every now and then it'll surface up, and it'll like, I have hope. I'm going to try again. That's what. And so there's so many things you go through, and that's the reason why I think it's so important to help people understand life beyond DNA.
Life beyond DNA.
That's just a golden nugget for people. There's beauty
on the other side of the story. So like one of the things that I had to realize, and I had to release my mom from, is releasing my mom from the responsibility of being a part of my healing process.
That's key.
Because one thing I think
mom or dad, either
mom
one.
or dad. And the thing that made me feel that way is I was holding on to the anger and resentment that she's not helping me enough. Like she's supposed, it's her fault. And it's, and it was eating me up. It was eating me up. So I had to release her from the responsibility of being a part of my healing process. And understanding too that she's human.
Wow.
I started to analyze like my mistakes I've made in life. Understanding that, and that's what the therapy process will help you understand too. Like, there was one thing that my therapist had me do that really brought everything to the forefront for me.
Okay.
So she said, I want you to write down everything you feel like a mother should be to her child, right? So I'm taking my own experiences, other experiences, my experiences with my mom, my experiences with my children. When I say this list was long, Miss Sheila, it was long, you hear me? So I made this long list. The next session, she says, okay. She says, good. She says, now I want you to go and I want you to put your mom's name next to all the things that she did provide for you.
Wow.
So, so then I go and I put my mom's name next to everything. I cried while I was doing it. It made me tear up because
the emotions start to come back. You're thinking of how good, she's a good mom.
That it made me realize I wasn't giving her enough credit for all the things she has done.
Wow.
Right. And it it just brought everything back to memory. Because when you're in your traumatic state, trauma is at the forefront of your mind.
Yes.
And so you're not thinking of the great things back here, because you can see
is all the stuff that
they didn't do, what they didn't say, what I should have got, what I didn't get, those type of things.
They're not helping you. Yeah.
So it's like my therapist slowed my mind down and said, let's put it out there, right? So it's kind of like putting it all out there. This is what we got. So let's start to cherry pick everything, right?
Yeah.
So I put her name. So the next session, she says, okay. She says, good job, right? And she said, what did you learn from? I said that my mom is human, that she's not perfect. And I said, and honestly, just being a parent myself, we can't provide everything to our kids. That's why the village is so important.
That's it.
Right? She says, exactly. She says, which takes me to the next assignment for you.
Yeah.
She says, now I want you to go and all the ones that are blank, put a name of the people that did provide that for you.
Oh, that's good.
So I did that and my whole sheet was full. And then I came back and she said, what did you learn? I said, I learned that even though I didn't get it from my mom, I still got it.
Wow. Bingo.
Right. Right.
That's it.
Yeah. And so that exercise just helped me realize that we all like, our parents were broken when we got them.
That's it. That's true. So
true.
Yeah.
And then I learned that,
how to let go.
You had to let go. And forgiveness is a gift I give to myself.
Yes.
Because now I don't have to hold on to the heaviness and carry this baggage that's really not mine. When I learned that I don't have to carry everybody's baggage.
Wow. Freedom.
I started saying, wait a minute, is this mine? Nope, that's yours. Take it back.
Take the monkey off my back, right?
Yep. Take all your stuff and not feel guilty about doing that. Because I think a lot of times depending on how we're raised, we're taught that we're supposed to carry everybody's weight.
That's true.
Right?
But in the shiro or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in the process, I learned that's not the case. I have my own baggage. Even when it comes to raising kids, I'll be giving my kids back their baggages. Baby, this is yours. Mama here to support you any way I can, but this is yours. You have to deal with that, right?
Wow.
And so once I released my mom from the responsibility, once I was able to get my healing, once I was able to humanize her. Yeah. So she's not just my mom. She was a woman before she was human before, she was my mom.
With her own frailties, with their own frailties, things like that.
Their own experiences.
Right.
One thing I would encourage people to do is, if you have the type of relationship where you can do this, sit down with your parent, even if you're angry with them, ask them questions about what their life was like. Right. What are some of the things that they went through? It helps build empathy in your heart for them. And so, and I know this is not everybody's story.
Yeah.
I have mentees that, their stories are...
Yeah, it's like I said, it's like a movie. It's some good stories, some bad stories, and in between.
But even if your story does not align like mine, there's still healing on the other side, and you can get through it.
Wow.
And be better on the other side.
On the other side.
Yes. So
there is healing, folks, on the other side. And that's what this story is all about with Miss Talona Davis. Life beyond DNA. There is help for you. There are resources out there. Find a support system. Don't give up hope, because you need to know who you are, where you came from. So we want you to know, how do you get in contact with you to find out more about Life Beyond DNA? Give them your contact information. That's so key.
Sure.
You're going to be flooded with information, because everybody wants to know, where am I coming from?
Sure. So you can reach us at lifebeyonddna.com.
Okay.
To get a free guide of those who have experienced a DNA surprise, or women. I specifically work with women.
Okay.
So women of diverse backgrounds who've experienced a DNA surprise that's looking for support. lifebeyonddna.com/guide. And you'll get a free guide that kind of helps you navigate what steps to take next.
Folks, this has been an emotional journey, an emotional ride. We were deep sea diving into some stories that's all true. I want you to know that you are uniquely designed and strategically gifted. Use your gifts to impact the world. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you for listening to Gifted with Sheila White. We hope you understand how your gifts can make an impact on the world. Gifted with Sheila White is produced by Road to Eternity, a film and television production company.